Rick Nelson and Ricky Nelson in those days, let's get it right, and My Bucket's Got a Hole in It. One of two great sides that came out as a smash single with Believe What You Say and top side. And lots of questions I must ask you about that situation. Straight away we start talking about the Jordanaires, who appear on Believe What You Say in most forms these days on albums, but on the single they didn't seem to be there at all.
Well, we recorded it, that, like I say, you know, they got the records out real fast, and I recorded it in one evening, and we wanted to put it out as fast as we could, so what we used to do is have the Jordanaires either come out and record on, like on albums, or we'd send them tracks and down in Nashville, and so there wasn't time, you know, to do that on the single version. So the single version doesn't have the Jordanaires on it.
Musician-wise, you've always surrounded yourself with the cream of the crop, I would say, right from the start. Let's just examine, if we can, the first sessions for Imperial and talk about mainly session guys that appeared on there. But Joe Mayfis was a legendary name to play some fine lead guitar. Did you get on well with Joe at the time?
Oh, real well. Yeah, I really did. And guys like Merle Travis and people like that I got to know, you know, around that time. And I just asked Joe if he would come down and be on the session and things. And a lot of those guys, they weren't really session players, you know. It hadn't really gotten into that yet, where guys kind of like sort of checked in and were just session players. You know, these guys played all around town and things. And there was a television show called The Town Hall Party, you know. And that's where I got to know all these people down there. Because I was always really interested in, I guess, like Carl Perkins, people like that, you know, and Johnny Cash, and you know, I guess it's what people refer to as rockabilly now. You know, it was just something that I just loved right away, you know, that sound. And
you could identify with it.
I really could, and it was something that I just kind of felt, I guess, you know.
Outside of if the word's right, confines of the your parents' TV show, were you allowed to go out and plug on other shows like the Town Hall Party that gave an opportunity for a record to be heard and seen on TV?
Well, you know, I just mainly kind of stuck close to the show as far as being presented as a record thing, but I certainly had the freedom to do what I, you know, wanted to do, really.
I was thinking of Dick Clark's Bandstand, obviously. Must have come into line somewhere down the story there.
Well, yeah, well, I was never on Dick Clark's Bandstand.
Really?
And Elvis and I were the only ones that never appeared on there, you know.
I'm intrigued.
And it was because that people used to release a record and they'd have to be on that show because that's where people would tune in to hear new releases, and that's where our television show became my place to be seen. So I really didn't have to do that, you know.
The mention of Carl Perkins there immediately puts me in mind of Sun Records. Did you get to hear that particular song we just played from a Sun single, which was out at the time by a guy called Sonny Burgess?
I sure did. As a matter of fact, that's what gave me the idea. I used to go down to the record store and just buy up every Sun record I could find, you know, and because I like that sound, and that's where I heard the song and decided to do it.
And the clip we played at the beginning with Big Mama Thornton, were you actually buying records like that?
Oh, yeah.
14 or something?
Oh, sure, R&B records, yeah. That's what I really started listening to. And then I remember the first rock and roll record that I heard was Carl Perkins, you know, back then, doing like Blue Suede Shoes and things like that. And I just thought, boy, this is great. I mean, you know, with a guitar break in it like that. And that's what I really tried to emulate, was that sound and that tone. You know? I
admire you, Rick, because it's quite a unique situation. An uptown city boy wanting to go into the hillbilly area is most unusual. It's usually the other way around. And go into the country rock.
Hillbilly, you know, that's sort of like a different type of thing, you know.
Or for hillbilly, read rockabilly.
You know, yeah. But that's a new term. That was really the first rock and roll players like Carl Perkins and people like that in the Sun records, Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis, of course, you know.
So did you strive in the studio fairly hard to emulate the Sun sound?
Oh, I did, yeah. And it was something that, I just really, really liked and wanted to sound like, you know.
I noticed on the bottom of the very first Imperial album, it says a Robin recording. That must refer to Bunny Robin, the engineer. Do you remember that guy?
Oh, Bunny, yeah, sure. He was the first engineer down at the studio that we used to record. Master Recorders, it was called.
Yeah,
it's now a laundromat, unfortunately.
Shame.
It's a great little studio. You know?
Shame.
Yeah.
Well, he did a pretty fair job getting you to sound like a Sun artist, and it was hard for a public at the time to know the difference between you and some of the people over in Memphis. This, I think, is probably one of the best representations of what I'm talking about. Let's listen to My Babe.